Welcome, everybody. We've got lots of possible trades. We've got lots of good players to add. And of course, we've got streamers and bye weeks are on their way. So join me, Fusion Fantasy Football, for next week tonight as we talk about all of these and more. Welcome to next week tonight. That's right, you heard me. We're going to be focusing a lot on trades today on next week tonight. I'm your host, Josh, and let's get right into it. As always, we're going to dive into just a blitz attack here. I'm going to show all the takes right up front as quick as I can. We're going to cut that out. I'm going to put that on a different little podcast for you. And then we're going to go back over it in a little bit more detail, and we're going to recap even the streamers and the calls for this upcoming week 4, which was last week's show because it's next week tonight. So this is week 5. Week 4 hasn't even been played yet. I just watched the Thursday night football game. So that's when this is being recorded. So even though it says week 5, don't be confused. It's still week 4 for everybody else, but this is next week tonight. So if you're not familiar with the show, that's how it works. Let's go. All right, guys. Tyler Algier, you need to go get him. A little bit of injury news about Patterson was out there. Okay. I'm going to focus on that one for everybody, even the blitz. All right. Keep going. Noah Brown, Alec Pierce, Richie James. These are all players you should be checking for to add. Trades. Go ahead. Go get David Montgomery. I said this last week. Hopefully you even didn't do it because then he got a little injured and it should have been a smash game for him. You can go get him even cheaper now. James Robinson. Yeah, we'll come back to that one for sure. Wide receiver Cortland Sutton. That's a great trade target right now. It's almost too obvious. Meanwhile, go ahead and trade these guys away. Okay. Cash out at their peaks. Khalil Herbert. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Devin Duvernay. Tyler Conklin. Yeah, you know I love him, but come on. And just threw this one on the end. Running back Joe Mixon. Just because Thursday Night Football just played, I know I usually avoid Thursday night players because they're locked, but you can still work out a trade for him, so you can still do it. He's still eligible. Week 5 streamers for quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, he might be out there because of a bad week. Check on him. But if he's not, just look right across the other sideline to Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee against at Washington. Week 5, wide receivers. Isaiah McKenzie, maybe a little bit overowned. He did have a good week 3, but at the same time wasn't being picked up. Eno Benjamin in week 5 getting receiving work, and then a little bit of a just kind of a grouping of tight ends here because there's such a wide range of differences in ownership and rostership across different kinds of leagues. So check on Njoku for sure. Somehow still saw him this week on some teams, some leagues. Juwan Johnson would be my next. Probably most of you're going to be able to do that. And then Noah Gray is kind of a really deep one out there. Okay. Jacksonville for defense, playing the Texans. They're for real, guys. If nothing else, they push the other team to make mistakes. And then don't forget week 6. This is like 2 weeks ahead, guys, but we got to think about it. You have these teams going on by. So you have these players. You've been relying on players from these teams. You need to make sure you have a backup. So go back, think about these streamers and everything. Of course, we got the Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Las Vegas Raiders, and Tennessee Titans. That's the show for the Blitz, guys. Stick around, watch the whole thing. If you're watching the video, just keep watching. If you're on podcast, just go right on to the next one. Appreciate, guys. I'll see you next time if you can't stick around. Okay. For the rest of us, We're going right on back. There we go. Okay. Week 5 ads. I said Tyler Algier. So, all right. Algier. I never know how to say it for sure. But thing is, Patterson's usage has been absolutely nuts. We're talking top five, if not, I think fourth overall, depending on how you want to measure it. But his opportunity share, weighted opportunity share, um, I have a metric called command, which basically looks at a combination of the weighted opportunities in raw total as well as the share of the team. Um, it also incorporates things like first down, so it ties into a little bit of what an NFL team and coaches think about. And so I called it fantasy command because it's not even fantasy command. It's just how much opportunity are they commanding is the idea. So going forward, how much opportunity, how much work usage are they going to be demanding and commanding? And that's what so much of fantasy points and predicting fantasy points is based on. So I said, well, let's not try and get too hung up on the other details. Let's just say who is going to be commanding the best opportunity because of what they've done, who's going to continue to command that in the future. They're going to be the ones scoring the points, or most likely to. Things happen. I get it. But for the most part, that's the guys who do it. And I've done the tests all of last year, holds up extremely well, very, very predictive. Not just descriptive, but predictive as well. Because again, the point is what they can command in the future. So back to Patterson. Command, it's ridiculously high. Second, if not, I think third or fourth highest command right now through 3 weeks of data. So anyway, that's a lot for one of the older guys running around. I don't see how. I mean, that's high for any normal running back, let alone a guy with Cordell Patterson's background, history, age, what happened last year, right? Same thing, very similar. They either need to get him into more of a committee, which means someone like Tyler Algier is more involved, or he's going to get hurt. And I hate to say that. I hope they don't. But one way or the other, Tyler Algier's value and usage is going to improve. Plain and simple. Hopefully, they get into a committee, and because Patterson's been good as well. I mean, you don't realize this, but he has like the second most running back yards in the league, right behind Chubb. I mean, it's all volume. It's crazy. All right, Noah Brown not getting enough recognition, and I'm guilty of this too. And it's because in the back of minds we're thinking, oh, he's not that good, and then he does it again, and oh, he's not that good. Oh, Michael Gallup's coming back. He's going to take his job. Even I was saying add Michael Gallup last week, and you should, but I'm not entirely convinced Noah Brown is just going to take. I mean, Michael Gallup is going to take Noah Brown's job. He's doing the job well. He's not just out there. His numbers actually reflect that he's doing well. All right. So, sorry, I'm trying to pull this up. There we go. Okay. So anyway, the other thing you want to pay a mind to is Alec Pierce in Indianapolis. So the thing with him is that the other guys just aren't cutting it. I wanted it to be Paris, and he got the opportunity, and he didn't do anything. Drop him, I said. Ashton Dulin, he's getting by. He's okay, but he's not even putting up old, Zach Pascal kind of numbers in the past. All right, so you saw a little bit out of Alec Pierce at the end of that game last week. He's going to get a shot. I'm not going to say it's going to work out. There's a number of things about his profile I wasn't that impressed by. Impressed by. But he's fast, and He's like I said, he's going to get a shot. So he could become a little mini Michael Pittman out there. I think I heard someone describe him, and it's not a terrible description. Um, we also have Richie James. Unfortunately, Sterling Shepard, ACL. Feel terrible for that guy because he has done nothing but produce for his team when he's been on the field the last couple of years. I mean, yeah, just has played really well. I mean, maybe hasn't had huge fantasy performances, although he did have a few at the beginning of last year. Um, and nobody expected him to be even as good as he was to start this year. He was one of those Achilles that was surprising. And now the ACL, just jogging down the field too. It was crazy. If you saw that replay. But Richie James he's been out there even when Shepard was. So basically there's no reason to assume that James is not going to continue getting the work he's gotten. Again, just like with Noah Brown, we can keep thinking, well, when Tony's healthy, he's back, he's going to take the job. When Wan'Dale Robinson is healthy and he comes back, he's going to take that work. Well, Richie James is there now. He's been getting the work, and he's going to keep getting the work until then. So for now, you should add him. Simple as that. All right, guys, here we get to the fun part. Trades. I already said last week, trade for David Montgomery. Like I said, hopefully, coincidentally, that didn't go great. If you paid too much for him, that's okay. He's going to come back. It's not a terrible injury. Speaking of injury, if you want information on David, some of these other cases I'm going to be talking to, great guy. I follow Dr. Edwin Porras at FBInjuryDoc on Twitter. Works for Fantasy Points. He has a whole injury write up for them on their site as well. But you can follow him on Twitter and get the same thing. So anyway, when I say it's not that bad, it's him and others that I'm listening to, but he's my go-to. Friend of the show, been on the show. I didn't get him on this last year. Just because my own fault, but loved having him on in the past. I would love to in the future as well, off season, to talk about player injuries and a lot of the guys. I mean, we've nailed a lot of those, and he was big on Saquon Barkley. Last year we both were. I was, thanks to his expertise on it, and we were starting to see it. And then he had the re-injury, of course. But it was coming, and that gave me the confidence again to going into this season, being all in on Saquon Barkley, and of course Dr. Edwin Porras was as well, and that's working out so far. I mean, is he running back one? No, he's not. He's still behind Chubb, but he's up there. All right, so everything that Khalil Herbert did in that game, we expected Montgomery to do that, and he was going to, because that was just a matchup. It was an obvious smash play for the running back. Running backs have been running all over those guys, but Montgomery got hurt early, and so Khalil Herbert got it. And he didn't just get Montgomery's work, he got Montgomery's work plus his own work, because he does have a decent amount of work on his own. Okay, he's one of these backups that has a little bit of his own standalone value, can sometimes steal a touchdown, here and there. He's a good player. I've been saying that since before the season. I got people upset at me when they were bringing up how good Madison was and how he was the number one backup handcuff you should be owning. And I said, yeah, well, you could just wait a couple rounds and get Herbert cheaper, and he's just as good. And I got yelled at for that. And I was like, yeah, well, all things considered, he did it as a rookie. Madison, it took him a couple of years to do anything, and he's still sometimes disappointed. Herbert didn't disappoint, and he did it as a rookie. So, going forward, I don't see how he's any worse. I have heard it places, but still, Dave Montgomery is the starter. He was getting the work. He was being good with it. I have to push back. I hear a little bit of the attitude that as if, I don't know if people on Twitter at first didn't realize that Montgomery had gotten hurt or whatever, but there was almost people getting excited and talking about, oh yeah, see, I knew Herbert was better and all. Guys, like, Herbert was hurt. Herbert was going to do that. Okay. And maybe, Montgomery got hurt. Montgomery was going to do that. And maybe he wouldn't have been as good as Herbert was because Herbert didn't have to worry about a Herbert also getting work. Montgomery did have to worry about Herbert getting work. So if that's the case, then you just saw Herbert's best game. Okay. If that's the case, we'll come back to that. All right. So this is the dip for David Montgomery, basically. This is the dip. He's injured, but it's a short-term injury, and people are overhyping on the other side, Herbert taking his job. This is the buy low of buy low dips, okay? Next, running back James Robinson. So a lot of your smart teammates are listening to a lot of smart analysts on a lot of podcasts talking about how you should trade James Robinson, because James Robinson's peripherals, his background stats, his usage seems to be like unreproducible. Sorry, stumbling over my words there. It seems like it's going to be hard for him to continue to repeat, right? To which I say, why? Because every time we've said he can't repeat, every time we've thought he can't do this, or acted like my friend Shane Swagger over, I think he did it on the Superflex Super Show along with John Hogue, friend of the show. I've been on the show. He was talking about how, we act like James Robinson is getting work that he's not supposed to get or something because Travis Etienne is there. But really, this has been James Robinson's job all along. It always was. That's the argument I was making years ago when Etienne was a rookie before his rookie season, before he was injured even. Had Josh Larkey, then player profiler, on the show. We debated about it. There wasn't really a winner, but long term, my point was that no, James Robinson has established himself as a good running back. He is the starter. Etienne is the guy who's going to come in and have to take work. He's not just going to get it. And that's shown through, even crazier than we ever expected coming back from a 9-month Achilles. Like, J-Rob is, to me, JDGAF Rob now. He does not care what you think about his Achilles recovery. He does not care what you think about how much work he should be getting or how many 18 to 20 point games he can put up back to back. He does not care. He doesn't care if you think that it's touchdown dependent, because guess what? He just keeps scoring those like 20-yard touchdown runs because and then people look at his stats and say, well, he's not getting red zone runs. That was the complaint years ago. And my counter was, well, the Jacksonville was never in the red zone. He kept having to score touchdowns from outside the red zone. And that's what he did week 1, right? It was like a 37-yard run for a touchdown. Another one, I think last week, 20-something. Like this, if he keeps doing it, then that's just who he is. That's James Robinson, okay? So stop acting like he's going to regress to something that he's never been. He's always been this. Why are we thinking he's not going to be it anymore? Do you really think Travis Etienne has he not had enough time? Is he going to be something so much better than he is now? Is he going to wake up and be Alvin Kamara tomorrow? Like, James Robinson is a starter in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is better, and this was my year 2 argument for James Robinson. Obviously, it didn't happen thanks to the coaching situation there. But my argument for James Robinson year 2 last year was that the offense can improve and make up for any lesser opportunity share which was ridiculous his rookie year, 2 years ago, that even if his share went down and he had to share some with ETN, the offense improving was going to make up for that. And like I said, didn't happen. He still was the starter and still was getting good games last year, despite all of that. Now he's in a better situation of the better coach with a year two quarterback, and they are playing really well. And now you see, okay, he's sharing, but it's still good because he is the starting running back. Okay, guys, don't overthink James Robinson. Stop overthinking and underestimating James Robinson. He is a starting running back, a running back one in the NFL. That is what he is. He has proved it. Stop thinking he's going to regress to a player that he's never been. He has always been a running back one. Literally always been a running back one. Treat him like it. So go trade for him. Go trade for him. Trades that I would make. And we'll get to some other examples of what I would offer. But I was thinking about offering Michael Thomas for him in a league. And I don't know if that would have been accepted. It would have been close. But, okay, if I had to throw in something, go do it. Because even in Dynasty, that's a situation where people think of James Robinson as being old, but he's not old. I mean, he's not young. Okay, third-year running back. He's not young, but he's not old either. Meanwhile, Michael Thomas, 29. He's comparatively, as far as wide receivers go, same kind of category. Not that old, but he's not young, right? So they're very similar positions in their career. He's been producing well, Michael Thomas, getting dinged up a little bit here and there. If you don't need a starting wide receiver and you need a starting running back, just flip it, okay? So something like that. And we'll come on to other examples here in a minute. So that's it for James Robinson. Wide receiver, Courtland Sutton. One of the last top wide receivers without a touchdown. Meanwhile, his usage, his 27% target share, 45% air yard share, which is high for like the main wide receiver on a team. Usually like 45% is, that's what you see from the Marquez Valdez-Scantling or something when he was in Green Bay, right? That's what you see. You don't also see the 27% target share. So he's getting all of it. 7th best command, like I was talking about, and also yards per team weighted opportunity, which is a little bit like, think yards per team pass attempt, which I could look up too for him. But yards per team weighted opportunity uses all opportunities, all team play attempts, and weights it, and the same way basically adds up all the weighted opportunities we would talk about for individuals, but adds it up for the team, finds out your yardage per it, and it comes out just like yards per team pass attempt, but you can compare it equally between running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Okay, whereas you can only use yards per team pass attempt for tight ends and wide receivers. Okay, now I've seen stats out there, yards per team attempt. Okay, that's what this is, but it's actually weighting those attempts, those opportunities, and I think coming out with a more accurate and usable number across positions between running backs and receivers. All right, so 7th best. So this is a wide receiver one, guys. His points are not reflecting that, although I think they're really close to it. I even forgot to look. I was so focused on the usage numbers, but he has wide receiver one, top 12 wide receiver usage. Okay, so it's going to go his way, and that offense hasn't looked great. I think they can do better. First year with Russell Wilson, so there's no reason to expect that it can't improve. Plus, just he's going to get a touchdown here eventually, right? So go ahead and go after him. Last week it was DK Metcalf I was saying go after. That's looking good. We'll come around to that in the recaps, but very similar kind of situation here, but it's Courtland Sutton this time. All right. Trade away. Okay. So I love Khalil Herbert. If you need a running back, then keep him and start him. He's gonna get you points. Fantastic usage because he's getting what David Montgomery was getting, plus a little bit of what he was already getting. We'll see what they bring in, whether um, Tristan Ebner, I think it is, or I can't remember right now. Pretty sure that's it. If he gets more involved this week to help, spread out that work a little bit more. But it was all condensed in Herbert this past week. And he had a fantastic game, the top running back performance of the week. So, like, it was a fantastic matchup. Okay. We thought Montgomery was going to smash in that matchup. Herbert got the opportunity to do it instead, and he did it. So he had the matchup. He smashed it. He produced, executed correctly, and he was getting all of it because he was, vacated opportunities, targets, whatever you want to call it. In this case, it would be opportunities. I don't think they're a thing in the off season, but they're certainly a thing, certainly in games and certainly week to week, So people are like, well, if vacated targets aren't a thing, then how did Matt Collins get so much more opportunity week 3 when Hunter Renfro's out? Well, that's because it was literally a week later and it was concussion and we didn't know for sure Renfro was going to be out. Like, you have to, as a team, pragmatically, in that short amount of time, you do want to have somebody to throw the ball to, right? I just don't think that applies to over the course of an off season and going into a season and plans for who's going to be part of used in the offense. I think emergency vacated targets and opportunities is a thing. Off season are not. Okay. Particularly when it comes to running backs and tight ends too. Tight ends, interestingly. But in this case, he's getting everything going for him. He's getting that emergency use, right? Concentrated use that he was going to get and Montgomery was going to get. He executed. He got the touchdowns, so that inflates the points. And it was an easy matchup. Okay. So he's not going to have a better game, basically, is what I'm trying to say. He's not going to have a better game. Why not sell him now? And if you can find one of these people who thinks, oh, he was the better back all along, he was going to be the starter, he should be the starter, that's fine. And that may be in the future, but Montgomery's coming back this season. So maybe this isn't a dynasty move. This is a redraft move. But even a dynasty, if you could get someone excited enough to buy him at cost for what they think he's going to produce in the future, we all love to hope the players produce like that in the future. But the fact is, the odds are stacked against a running back doing that at all, let alone being that good. So it's in your odds if you can sell at a price worthy of a late first round, early second round kind of return in rookie dynasty picks. All right. And if you could sell Khalil Herbert for David Montgomery, maybe you can do that, right? Wide receiver Devin Duvernay. So I like him. I've said before the season, people were getting all excited about Isaiah Likely, the tight end, and I was like, guys, he's still behind Duvernay. He's like the fourth target at best. And I do like Likely, and I should have him on one of these ads or something. If you're in a deeper league or a 2 tight end league or premium, tight end premium, you really, even a redraft. Obviously, he already is owned in a dynasty, but in a redraft, he still should be owned because, again, emergency vacated targets for tight ends is a thing. Likely would be getting a lot of Mark Andrews work. Okay, it wouldn't be Mark Andrews level results, but he would be getting that a lot of that opportunity. Um, but in the meantime, Duvernay, I had him on my bench on the team, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not going to be starting Devin Duvernay. I'm never going to have the confidence. He's been getting touchdowns, which is great, but it was a big play in week 1, and it was against the Patriots. He had a very nice little corner catch in the end zone, but like I have no real confidence that that's going to happen all the time. At the same time, it's Lamar Jackson. He's playing incredibly. His touchdown pass rate has always been high, so maybe I should be expecting it. And if you do, and if you believe in it enough to start him in your lineup, then go for it. Don't listen to me. Don't trade him away. But if you have him sitting on your bench and you're not going to put him in your starting lineup, why do you have him? Trade him right now at peak value. Either you think he's going to improve, which means this isn't his peak, which means this is his new standard, which means you can start him. Or if he's just sitting on his bench, that means you don't think he's going to do it again, which means you think this is his peak, which means you should trade him now. Okay? So I'm trying to force you guys to like really think through these things. I have to do it to myself, right? Because we do it all the time with so many ways. We rationalize and everything, but let's like really force ourselves to be consistent. Be like, okay, I'm not starting him. So why do I have him? I don't know. I just traded Devin Duvernay for Jamal Williams in a league. I had David Montgomery. Still do. I'm gonna get David Montgomery back, but I have Saquon and David Montgomery, and like nothing after that. Terrible. Okay. So it's like, look, I need somebody to start as my running back 2 now, and I need somebody who can flex for me in the future. And Jamal Williams has standalone value, as we've seen. So I was like, all right, I'm going to offer him. It's a dynasty league. And so he's looking at Devin Duvernay thinking, oh, he's doing really well. He's going to be something. He has future value. Meanwhile, Jamal Williams is his older, aging backup. He doesn't. So he accepted outright, which makes me think like I probably overpaid. I probably could have got more for Devin Duvernay. But that's the example. And I'm very happy with the trade because I think Jamal has a lot of value for the entire season, and I'm going for it in that league. I'm 3-0, looking really strong in that one. So I'm at that point in the season where you're like, you know what? I need a running back. I'm going to need one for bye weeks. I'm just going to pay up with this wide receiver who is my like 5th or 6th best wide receiver. Simple as that. Tyler Conklin, trade him away. I'm almost a week late on this because Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson's going to be back in week 4. I was thinking he was going to be gone for 4 weeks. So I had him, penciled in as soon as he started having all these good games. Tight end 3 at the moment, guys. Tight end 3. But a lot of it is based on the work he's getting from Joe Flacco. Short, just volume. I don't know if he'll get that from Zach Wilson. I don't. I think he's shown enough to be involved in. He's going to be involved. But it's not going to be tight end 3. It's going to be like what we've seen from Higbee and Evan Ingram. It's not going to be tight end 3. Okay. So that's that. If other people are already onto that, maybe you're not going to be able to trade him. I tried packaging him in deals. I have a bunch of leagues. I have a bunch of leagues and teams where I have like several of these guys. Okay. I have a Logan Thomas and I have a Evan Ingram and an Everett or an Njoku. I have like 2 of those other guys other than Conklin already. And so I'm like, well, I can just throw Conklin in a deal to make it happen. Right. Last one here I added on running back Joe Mixon, or as I like to call him, Joe Midson, because he is the average of the running back ones, like the archetypical average running back one. But lately, he's not even that. He's kind of like medicine. Like, I don't know. He's a high-end running back too. And he just had one of the uglier 20-point fantasy games I can remember. I mean, we're talking Ugly. I had it up. I don't know where it went. We're talking over 20 attempts, 60 something yards, like 3 yards per attempt, kind of. And this has been going on. He's been doing this. Among top running backs, he's literally the only one with a below 1 fantasy point per weighted opportunity. Okay, and think about that, guys. A weighted opportunity is equal to 1 target in my system, or um, 0.4 rush attempts, or every 2.5 rush attempts equals 1 opportunity. That's how the math works. So think about this. It's really hard to get below 1 fantasy point per an opportunity. Like Leonard Fournette is at 1.07 because he hasn't been getting the touchdowns, right? He's still even at 1.07. Okay. And Mixon has been getting touchdowns where he's had. Javonte Williams is getting a lot of opportunity, a lot of weighted opportunities, also not getting a lot of, the touchdowns of results out of it. Also 1.07. I mean, think of any running back you think of as being inefficient, right? They're still high. James Conner, 1.2. Okay. Joe Mixon is 0.92 fantasy points per weighted opportunity. I'm scrolling down trying to find anyone lower than this. Rex Burkhead 0.96. Tyler Algier 0.95. Okay. Okay, I have to go down to like Rashad White and Matt Breida and Kenyon Drake, Deonta Foreman. Okay, these are the guys who are getting that low, and I know it's because, no, it's not even like I said. He's gotten touchdowns. He has the most weighted opportunities among running backs, literally the most through 3 weeks. And it is utterly average. I've always thought, and I was okay with that. But if it's not even average, at least not running back one average, it is just not good. Okay. I don't see how he can't get more work to compensate for it. He's going to have to get less work and be better with it and do more with it. And it's really his touchdowns thanks to the offense and lately even targets, right? He's been getting a good amount of actually the receiving work. It did again Thursday night here. That's what's floating him. That's the only reason he's having a 20-point game, because he has like 3 or 4 receptions and was literally pushed into the end zone by his team. That's why he's having 20-point games, and he's going to look as good on, the points per game as he does. It's not great, guys. It's not great. I have him in one league, and I don't feel great about it. He's putting up points as my running back 2, essentially. But if he's your running back 1, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. You need to go trade for James Robinson. Go trade for James Robinson plus something, right? You telling me most players are not going to accept that offer? They see Joe Mixon. They see, Bengals starting running back. They see the points he's putting up. It's a complete false resume. James Robinson is a better running back than Joe Mixon. I said it. I would even take Montgomery plus. That one's a little bit more risky. It is. But go for it. In redraft, you could trade Joe Mixon for, you know, dang it. Brees Hall was supposed to be on the ad list for obviously acquire, trade for. Um, yeah, this is why you guys need to watch the whole show, not just the blitz part. I've been digging a lot more into some of these this week, so I apologize. We're going a little long, but these are some really big ones that we need to really dig into, to so you can understand why I sound crazy, but it makes sense. Okay, so James Robinson, poor man's running back one. Okay, streamers, let's hit him quick. Carson Wentz, even though I think he's probably higher on rostership percent than I would typically consider. I think that's going to be going down. It just hasn't reflected yet. But he had such a bad game against the Eagles, and I don't expect him to have a great game this week. I can't even. I'm so focused on Week 5, I can't even remember who teams are playing Week 4s. I'm like my own Patriots. I'm a Patriots fan. People ask me, "Oh, who are the Patriots playing this week?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't remember," because I'm in my head. I'm thinking, oh, I know who they play Week 5. Who are they playing in Week 4? Because I'm on to next week. All right. If he's not there, okay, that's fine. Ryan Tannehill, solid floor, good option. Right on the other side on that same game, that same matchup. Isaiah McKenzie, again, I meant to have another one here that was maybe a lower ownership, and I was having a hard time coming up with anything. So, hey, follow me on Twitter at FusionFFB. If something sticks out, you could go for it. I mean, you can just take some of those guys from the ads. Noah Brown would be. I should have just stuck with Noah Brown in here. Actually, I think I meant to earlier. And even Alec Pierce. So either of those guys that were the ads, if McKenzie is owned and you still need somebody, you consider those guys streamers for Week 5. They're probably gonna have good Week 4s, which is why they were ads, right? Benjamin, there's been some drops, but he is getting more involved in the passing game. He has almost as much passing work as James Conner does. And if they're in a matchup against the Eagles defense, which I don't really want to play the Eagles against Jacksonville this week, but the following week in Week 5, Arizona, that's a game again. And Arizona maybe I don't want to start Philadelphia's defense against Arizona either, but I do think Philadelphia's putting up points. They're going to force the Cardinals to keep up. Benjamin, passing game can be involved. That's what you're looking for when you're talking about running back streamers off waivers. Tight end's giving you a bunch here, obviously because of different tiers of rostership here. David Njoku, I mean, he should be pretty much started every week, almost, depending on your options. But Juwan Johnson's going to be the guy for most of you, and then Noah Gray is the deep one. All right. And Jacksonville, this Week 5 against the Texans. Again, they're the real deal. Keep an eye on these bye weeks. Identify who you need to replace. And I will be looking for replacements specifically for these kind of players next week in Week 6 streamers. So let's fly through the recap, guys. It keeps looking great for the rookies. That's who I said you should be getting last week. Olave went off, so all opportunity to trade for or anything for Olave is gone. Burks, it's still there. He didn't have the big game I thought he might have, but he did have a great usage. So I do think it's still coming with Burks. We had it with London Week 2. We had Olave Week 3. Burks could be Week 4, or it could be Week 5 in that Washington matchup that I'm highlighting for the quarterbacks, right? I already told you to add Algier, right? So you probably already had him, and they were just talking about getting Rashad White more involved, one of the coaches, which it's just coach speak, but it's still nice to know that like he's definitely the backup. That's kind of the point. These guys adding, again, this week I saw someone on Twitter saying it's probably a week early, but add Jameson Williams. Sorry, buddy, you're a week late. I was 2 weeks early, I guess. If he was a week early, then we were 2 weeks early. So stash Jameson Williams, and of course, double check Michael Gallup. I think a guy I follow a lot, JJ Zachariason, Late Round QB on Twitter, and his podcast now is Late Round Podcast. Used to be with Number Fire, has his own thing now. Give him a follow. He has had in the past a show called 15 Transactions, comes out Tuesdays. It's like, I didn't really think about it at the time, but this show is basically like 15 transactions, but like a, a whole week ahead of time, right? That's kind of, if I had to sum down to somebody, when somebody asks me, what's your show about? And I know that they're involved in Twitter and they listen to podcasts. They know about JJ. They know his show. I just tell them it's like 15 transactions, but a week ahead of time. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Just like that, they get it. The funny thing now is that since he's doing like these shows full time, he's actually started doing like a sleeper show and a trend show on Wednesday, Thursday. And he's kind of getting in my lane a little bit with the sleeper show. He's like a week ahead sometimes on these guys. And I'm a little annoyed that it's a little bit annoying. But typically I judge like if my ads and my streamers and so on. He also has a show with Denny Carter called Living the Stream, another podcast, very much streamers based for quarterbacks, defenses, tight ends. And basically I listen to those two shows on a Tuesday. And I'm just checking off when it's players that were my streamers. Hayden Hurst, check. Yep. Oh, Tyler Conklin, yep, check. Like, if they talking about the guys that I talked about the week before, I know I did my job, basically. And it doesn't mean they're going to work out. Maybe they don't always work out, but it means I correctly predicted who was going to be the guys that the experts were going to be telling you to pick up, but before the experts told you and everyone else to pick them up, so you could pick them up for free. So that's what I mean. And so I have no problem telling you, go listen to their show, go listen to that show, and I promise you'll hear half the names are going to be names I already talked about. And again, that is no offense. I love his show. I respect his work. I have for years. To me, that's me feeling good about my work and I know that my process is working when they end up on his list as well. So I have no problem with you going and listening to his show. It's hopefully going to make you think that I'm smart. Really, I'm just, guys, what this show is just putting effort somewhere that no one else is putting effort. That's all it is. All right. The trade fours, they all still work. DK Metcalf put up like 17 points then last week. Did he get a touchdown? I can't even remember. But I don't think he still got a touchdown. But either way, probably that buy low window closed a little bit. And I think he's going to I think he's now locked in on Geno. He's got Geno looking at him. He's got him locked in. I'm the captain. All right. He's got his attention now. He's going to keep focusing on him. And then we have the players that you can just let go, cut them in the meantime. Streamers for week 4, in case you still need somebody, I do look out for Winston. I don't know. I heard some things, and this is the London game as well. So look out about this matchup. But Brissett is a good one there. Also heard him on the living stream and everything. That was one of the ones I was like, yep, there he is. Check. All right. Week 4. So we got Jalen Warren, Kenneth Walker, Sony Michel. So I think I have Sony Michel in one of my deep leagues this week. We'll give it a shot. And Jalen Warren, other people this week I've been hearing talking about how it's a little concerning how he's getting so much more work, especially even in the red zone. There you go. That's what it's going to take. Michael Gallup, replace that out with Noah Brown if you need to, if he's not back. Okay. Ashton Doolin, same thing. Replace that out with Alec Pierce if you need to. Okay. Juwan Johnson, there you go. And Hayden Hurst, sorry about week 3, guys. I said I hope it works out week 3. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. It almost didn't work out week 4, but it did. It did. We got a touchdown at the end of the game, bailed you out. 13.2 points PPR. I think 3 or 4 receptions, targets for minimal yards. Although the first one early in the game was impressive. He like had a good 8 yards after contact. He like carried a couple guys. So he's going to continue to be one of these guys. He hasn't been noticed as much as like the Conklins and the Everetts and the Higbees have lately. So now I'm having to fall back on Hayden Hurst because the other guys who were being ignored that I said to pay attention to are now getting the attention, right? Juwan Johnson's right on that line where if he has another good week this week, you're not going to be able to pick him up easy anymore. But you're going to have him already. And you have those other guys already. You probably don't even have to listen to me because you're starting Njoku and Higbee. So you don't even need this. All right, and then Colts defense against Titans this week. The Colts have a solid defense. And the Titans, I know I was recommending some players in a matchup in a couple weeks, but Tannehill is not above giving up some turnovers and so on. So let's go really quick and look at 2 weeks ago show, how those have really worked out. The Donovan Peoples-Jones one, he's getting work, man, but it's just not converting. And it's probably not going to until either Watson is there or he's just going to get replaced by David Bell. At some point, David Bell is going to show up on the show. At some point. Same thing with Robbie Anderson. He's getting the work. It just, with Baker Mayfield, it's been terrible. Okay. And there you go, Juwan Johnson. We talked about him a while ago. Keaton, he's been, I don't know if he had a concussion or something, but he was out last week and it wasn't performance involved. Okay. So I still think he was on track to get more work there. So I still like that. Cam Akers, right on, guys. Everything we said from the beginning, it's happening. We saw it. His usage was bad. He was getting hit, behind the line of scrimmage first couple weeks. Once he's into it a little bit more, he's going to be better at setting himself up and taking off and avoiding getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage, right? And we saw it. He was like 12 for 65 yards or something like that, which is well over 4. I think it's like 5 or almost 6 yards per carry. And he even got the touchdown. Okay. Now the total wasn't amazing, but it was a solid, 12 points or something like that. Right. 6 and 6. Yeah. It was like 12.5 points. It's nothing super special, but it was pretty good. Actually, he had a number of targets and receptions as well, which Henderson did not have. So this is exactly what we were talking about and looking at. It can improve even more. Okay, Hunter Renfrow, he was out with concussion, still expecting to be back either way. Buying him right after that week 1 was absolutely the play. And Derek Carr and Geno Smith, both of them work out with really strong points as streamers for you, 19, 18. Kyle Phillips was out again, so unfortunate. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. That is contributing to Burks getting the great usage. It just didn't actually convert to points. So that's a little bit of reinforces at least what I was looking at was there. Sonny Michel, 4 points or something. He didn't get a touchdown. Basically, that's it. They got blown out. This was back when we thought Jacksonville was still bad. I don't think that anymore. So I wouldn't have done this thinking that they were going to get a big lead because no, I'm not counting on teams having big leads against Jacksonville anymore. Nope. Jacksonville's legit. And then Hayden Hurst, like I said, didn't work out. Skip that one quick. But the Eagles dice roll, that worked really good. You got a 20-pointer with your defense. So I had him everywhere I could. I was starting him. I hope you did too. Paid off big time. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's the show. A little of a long one this week as far as the total. Follow me on Twitter at FusionFB, FFB. Of course, you know where the podcast is. You know the YouTube is up there. And you know that on fusionffb.com, you're going to have my notes. And yes, I get it. They're just kind of spewed out there. I don't have the time or effort to do more than that. I don't. But it's there. Essentially everything I've said is in my notes about each player, and you can find it on the website if you want to read it, if you want to reference it, if you can't listen or watch. If you can, if you have, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a great week 4. I look forward to you next week when we're on to week 6.